Is not agreed to. Call on Members' Order of the Day number 4.
Electronic Transactions Contract Formation Amendment Bill, first reading.
Mr. Speaker,
I call Paul Goldsmith.
I move that the Electronic Transactions Contract Formation Amendment Bill be now read a first time. Mr. Speaker, I nominate the Commerce Committee to consider the bill. This bill clarifies a point of contract law which is currently vague. Its purpose is simply to clarify the legal position on the time at which a contract is formed if the acceptance of the offer is sent by some form of electronic communication. The bill recognises the need for contractual transactions to join the electronic age. The general rule of contract formation is that a contract is formed at the time an acceptance of the offer is communicated to the offerer. So when someone says, yes, I accept the offer, or the offerer and the acceptor shake hands, then the deal is done. However, an exception to the rule was created for acceptances by post, and this goes back to the case of Adams v. Linsdell of 1818. And I might trespass on the time of the House to explain the details of that case. So the case involved two parties to the sale of some wool. On 2 September 1818, the defendants wrote to the plaintiffs offering to sell them certain fleeces and required an answer in the course of post. And the defendants misdirected the letter so that the plaintiffs did not receive it until the 5th of September. Now, the plaintiffs posted their acceptance on the same day, but it was not received until September the 9th. Meanwhile, on September the 8th, the defendants, not having received an answer by the 7th of September, as they expected, sold the wool to somebody else. And so the defendants argued that there could not be a binding contract until the answer was actually received, and until then they were free to sell the wool to somebody else. Now, the judge said if that was true, it would be impossible to complete any contracts through the post, because if the defendants were not bound by their offer until the answer was received, then the plaintiffs would not be bound until they had received word, and it would go on indefinitely. And so it was decided that the offeree, when he placed his acceptance in the post, there was a fictional meeting of minds which concluded that the offer was done and gives effect to the acceptance. So that idea was tidied further into what was now referred to as the postal acceptance rule in the 1892 case Henthorne versus Fraser, where the court determined the precise timing of the acceptance, that is, the moment when the letter of acceptance was posted. Now, that long-standing rule as to postal acceptances in Adams v. Linsdell is not appropriate for electronic transactions. And this has already been recognised by the courts in relation to acceptance of contractual offers by telex as far back as 1955. In Torres versus Miles Far East Corporation, which treated the communication being, as with the telephone, simultaneous. So the contract was formed when the offeree said yes. Now, the fact in that case involved a London-based trading company sending an offer by telex for the purchase of copper cathodes from a company based in Amsterdam. Now, there is no clear authority, Mr. Speaker, on acceptance by way of email, and this bill will serve to clarify the law. The position with telex differs from emails. Communication by telex is generally acknowledged at each end, sending machine and receiving machine. With email, it's not known to the sender that an email has been received unless confirmation is received from the recipient. And so this postal acceptance rule was based on the policy that the post office was an assured means of communication and acted as a form of agent for transmission, provided there was proof of posting. Emails are delivered by a variety of servers, and there's not the same assurance that an email, once put into the ether, will be delivered. Proof that an email has been posted is also difficult because it's not a simple matter of obtaining a receipt for a registered letter. So this bill provides, in my view, an appropriate way to deal with the email acceptances by providing that an offer can be accepted by electronic communication is deemed to be accepted at the time of receipt by the offerer. That is when it arrives in the offerer's inbox. And you can know when that is. So why is this important? Well, that's something that the Select Committee can look at when we get down to it. So why is this important? Well, on its own, this bill is not going to bring about the brighter future to which we all aspire and to which this government is so committed. But it is a small and useful addition to the lattice work. Clear and predictable laws, Mr. Speaker, governing commerce are some of the foundations of the success of the modern economy upon which our prosperity depends. Clarity and certainty lead to confidence, and confidence leads to greater investment, Mr. Speaker. So our laws need consistently to be maintained and adapted to respond to changing technology. And so this bill tidies up one small area of uncertainty and will go some way to increase the flow of business. And given the prevalence of electronic communications in society today, including email, smartphones and social media, it is useful that the current Act be amended to cover such areas. It's worth digressing briefly, Mr. Speaker, to fit this bill into the broader context of a government committed to operating online in the 21st century. And as part of the national-led government's determination to make the public services work better for taxpayers, businesses and consumers, we've set a target that an average of 70% of New Zealanders' most common transactions with government will be completed in a digital environment by 2017, up from 24% currently. And 10 transactions, the House may be interested to know, are being used to measure progress towards 70% uptake of online services. This includes renewal of adult passports, applying for visas, applying for financial assistance through MSD, filing tax returns, paying fines, paying vehicle licensing, smart gate for air travellers and booking dock assets. So likewise, this bill is all the more relevant as the government rolls out its investment in ultra-fast broadband, which will revolutionise the way many businesses, schools, healthcare providers and communities operate. It will help overcome the tyranny of distance with the rest of the world, and this government has committed $1.5 billion to plug New Zealand into the world through ultra-fast broadband and our rural broadband initiative. So, Mr. Speaker, that wool merchant and his customer, Adams and Linsell, doing their business more than 2 centuries ago, could not have imagined the modern world where contracts can be formed instantly between traders in London and Auckland. But the fundamentals of business haven't changed, in that trading is amongst the most natural activities of humanity. It's a civilising activity because at bottom it's about making an arrangement from which both parties benefit, and most of all, trade flourishes when there is a shared understanding of the rules. And I trust this bill will go some way to add to that shared understanding, and on that basis I commend it to the House. Thank you.
The question is that the motion be agreed to. The Honourable Trevor Mallard.
Mr. Speaker, the normal practice for the Labor Party when there is a member's bill and it is well drafted and heading in the general direction that the Labor Party